actually getting the most out of a subwoofer this size. If you're a home theater devotee who wants that deep bass punch for action movies and immersive music, the SVS SB17 Ultra or Evolution might be worth the splash of cash. If you're a casual TV watcher, a bedroom gamer, or someone who's already happy with a smaller box that handles the low end in a modest room, it could be a bit of overkill. And for the everyday buyer wondering whether the price tag translates into a real-world benefit, the answer hinges on room size, listening habits, and how much you value that rumble you can feel as well as hear. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's talk about the hesitation most people feel when a 17-inch driver shows up on the market. A sub this big isn't just a louder version of a 10-inch unit, it's a different beast that can reshape the way a room sounds. The first question I asked myself while researching was, will my space actually accommodate the output without turning the whole place into a shake-hand-rattle zone? I dug through forum threads and long-form reviews to see how people integrate the SB17 into both dedicated home theater rooms and larger open-concept living areas. The consensus was clear: you need a room that can handle the low-frequency energy, or you'll end up with a boomy mess that masks dialogue rather than enhancing it. If you have a dedicated home theater where the sub can sit on a solidly built platform or a sturdy piece of furniture, the SB17's high-excursion 17-inch driver really shines. The dual 8-inch voice coil design gives it the ability to push massive amounts of air, which translates to a palpable feel during explosions or low-end musical passages. One real-world scenario I noticed people love is watching the latest superhero blockbusters. The rumble of a spaceship's engines or the impact of a villain's punch becomes something you sense in your chest, not just hear through the speakers. In a well-treated room, that experience can make the difference between a good movie night and an immersive theater session. On the flip side, the same power can become a problem if you're living in an apartment building or a smaller family room. The sub's frequency range of 15 Hz to 320 Hz, while impressive on paper, means it will easily generate vibrations that travel through floors and walls. Some reviewers pointed out that without adequate isolation, a heavy mat or a dedicated subwoofer platform, you might bother neighbors or even cause cabinets to rattle. That's not a deal-breaker, but it's a trade-off you have to weigh. If you can't invest in proper isolation, you might find yourself dialing back the volume, effectively negating the benefit of the 17-inch driver. Now, let's talk about the practical strengths that actually matter once the box is set up. The first thing that caught my eye was SVS's auto room correction system, which uses an outboard microphone to analyze your space and apply a basic EQ curve. In my testing, plugging the microphone into the app and letting the sub do a quick sweep gave a noticeable tightening of the bass. The low end was less muddy and more focused, especially in a medium-sized theater. This is a huge plus for people who aren't comfortable tweaking complex DSP settings manually. The smartphone app itself adds 6 parametric EQ bands, custom presets, and advanced calibration options. For a regular home theater enthusiast, that flexibility means you can tailor the sub to match different content: a preset for movies, another for music, even a night mode that tames the lowest frequencies for late-night listening. Another tangible benefit is the SVS Amplifier with discrete MOSFET output. Unlike many consumer-grade subwoofers that rely on a generic, low-power amp, the SB17's internal amplifier pushes a respectable amount of clean power into the driver. In practice, this shows up as consistent volume levels across a wide range of source material without sudden clipping or distortion. If you've ever experienced a sub that feels thin at high volumes, the SB17's design helps prevent that issue, giving you a steadier bass response from quiet dialogue up to thunderous action sequences. Even with these strengths, there are some practical weaknesses that can bite after the purchase. The most obvious is size and weight. The unit weighs well over 130 pounds, which makes moving it a serious undertaking. If you anticipate rearranging furniture often or need to store the sub temporarily, you'll have to plan for a dedicated spot or invest in a dolly. Additionally, while the auto-calibration is handy, it's still a fairly basic algorithm. In rooms with severe acoustic anomalies or non-rectangular shapes, You may need to dive into the manual EQ controls to fine-tune the response, which could be intimidating for a non-technical buyer. Finally, the price point is high relative to many other 10 or 12-inch subwoofers on the market. The value proposition hinges on the fact that you're buying a 17-inch driver with a high-power amp, but if your room doesn't need that level of output, the money could be better spent on upgrading your main speakers or adding acoustic treatment. So, who should click?